So Akashic Records this week was another really solid episode. I like the conclusion to this overall mini arc, this little festival, and just kind of had a lot of really cool characterization for those characters like Rumia, and Glenn himself still is starting to progress at a very steady, pretty good pace, I'd say. He's not overly developed to the sense of it removes his scumminess, but he's still starting to feel like a better person than when we initially saw him back in episode 1. But what I really liked about this episode is the two new characters we get introduced to, one of which is Albert, who seems like a pretty down-to-earth guy, kind of similar to Glenn in his own way, just not without the scumminess, I would say, is probably how I would sum him up. And then we have Real, I believe is how you say her name, or Rel. It's weird because in Crunchyroll's translation it was R-E=L, and I'm not sure if that's a mistranslation or if that's actually how her name is spelled, but she's kind of like the dunce character. She's very here's the plan. I'm gonna charge in head first, then you're gonna charge in head first, and then Glenn's gonna charge in head first. She just thinks with her fists. She's very aggressive, but she's kind of cute in her own way because she's just lovable, clumsy idiot. I've always liked those types of characters. It's very tropey, but you don't see them too often, at least with modern anime, I find, especially this exact executed version. So I was happy to see a character like her pop in, and you can just imagine what Glenn used to have to put up with her and Albert. I mean, Albert and Glenn probably just had a hard time keeping her under tag back in the day when he was a part of their group there. So to just see her come charging in with her sword, Glenn thinking okay, I'm gonna get sniped, I'm gonna get hit with a giant sword, I'm screwed, but no, it's Albert sniping her because she's being an idiot. There's a lot of solid comedy, but we also get a really cool progression and overall conclusion to the mini Rumia and as well as the Queen's story, as the whole thing with it is we knew something was going on. The necklace that she was wearing, it was cursed, something was happening with it. So the overall progression of getting Rumia as well as Glenn to that location to figure out what the hell is going on, it went in a direction I wasn't expecting, because Glenn pretty much masked their image to look like Albert's as well as Real, and then they infiltrate up there to say hey, we're gonna be taking over the class while Glenn's doing his own thing. And of course Sisti realizes something's a little off. This actually feels like probably it's not them, it might actually be Glenn as well as Rumia, so they roll with it, and then they get up after they win an amazing victory because of Sisti's amazing one-on-one combat at the very end, to then it's revealed, hey, I'm Glenn and here's Rumia, and of course everyone comes charging in, to then a barrier gets activated. So I thought how they executed that, because it's a very interesting way, because all along you see Glenn and Rumia running away the entire episode, so you don't actually think maybe they're masking and switching places, but once you see it, it's of course they went that way. And I thought it was very intelligent with how they overcame this obstacle of the Queen can't say anything, Glenn's friend, the blonde hair girl, I forget her name, she can't do anything. It's pretty much like we knew last week, she wasn't able to speak much, and it was up to Glenn to kind of decode what the hell is going on. So to see how Glenn kind of overcame this obstacle of pretty much saying what is going on here, why isn't anyone speaking, and then essentially the Queen gives the order, kill her, she doesn't mean anything to me, I don't like her, just kill her, I hate her. But you see her hand shaking, so you know something's off. And then I love how Glenn realizes wait a second, and then he realizes that it's the necklace, to which then he uses his ultimate OP power, the Fool's World, to cancel out all magic within this bubble, so when she removes the necklace, it doesn't activate the curse because his power negated the curse. It's brilliant. I mean, he takes a sword to the hand, that's not an easy thing to deal with. So I just like how intelligent it was with overcoming it. It wasn't just Glenn's gonna punch some people in the face, no, it was Glenn looking at the situation because he knows how much she cares about Rumia, because literally she was the one who gave him the order to save her 3 years prior back, so he knew something was off, and I like how he overcame that. It wasn't just with brute force, it was actually with his intelligence, and I thought the visual presentation was just very nice to look at. I didn't think there was a major art quality drop, and the animation was pretty fluid. I mean, there wasn't that many great OST backing tracks, but I just think the overall quality of the content wrapping up this little tournament arc is a mini one. It's not big or grand or really that ambitious. The main focus was on the Rumia side story, but I thought it was a very good arc. Coming into a second arc, I think this was a beautiful little mini arc to kind of give some characterization and progression for some of the characters while retaining some of that really cool comedy, and just overall making this series stand out above a lot of these Magic Academy animes. And I'm going to be interested to see what they do with the next arc, if we're going to have a lot of comedy, if it's going to be a bit more serious, and what they overall do with it, because overall I'm really impressed with what they're doing with these characters. Even characters like Sisti and Rumia are feeling like their own characters. Glenn is still the star of the show, and overall it's starting to feel like all these characters are starting to feel like characters and not just cutouts to just fill the scenes. I mean, even the girl who Glenn gave the advice to about the transformation magic, she got perfect and kicked the guy who turned into a dragon's ass. So there is this really solid teaching morale that he's giving these students, and I'm going to be interested to see how these students fare off by the end of the series, what ultimately happens with them, because so far he's teaching them some pretty good life lessons, and I'm going to be interested to see where next week's goes. Just overall, I thought this was a really good episode. It wasn't my favorite episode, but I thought it was the perfect conclusion for this arc, and I'm really glad that Rumia got a heartfelt kind of goodbye with her mother, and I actually thought that was rather sweet and pretty heartwarming for a series I never thought I would think that way about, because I thought this would just be a comedy series, and it's actually pretty heartwarming with how they end that little arc. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Did you love the episode? Did you hate it? Or do you think it was just okay? Before you leave, please be sure to like the video to share your support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.